Alrighty, so finishing this up just for internal work for today. I'm working on getting this monument built. So this will be coming up. You guys will see it. I'll make a little explainer, but working on it and then kind of packing up for the day. And then this reminded me that I got a couple of Diesel built heads that were asking about symbols, creating symbols. This is actually a symbol that I use. If you go over here to my local symbols here, my list, what you do is when you have your symbols, just put it in a Docker and it's called lift point. So you select, these are all the libraries and you can see the preview up here. These are all the different symbols in each one of these libraries. So I go to lift point and it's the only symbol in the library right here at the bottom. And then you just drag it and drop it. There you go. So that's a symbol. But that is ready to go in any document. I don't have to. Now I know that I'm, Mr. Macro. So I've done that before where I make symbols and at a push of a button, there's a way to do that. But honestly, I found that using the Dockers and just using the internal, native way of dealing with symbols through Corel, just set up a Docker and you're good to go. It's really the quickest way. So I'll show you how to create a symbol and kind of what's cool about them is being able to change symbols on the back end at the record of truth, the golden master, and then all symbols and all the documents will change if you want them. So yeah, so this just made me think of it. So I'm done for today. So I just thought I'd hit record. Now what I'll do is this is one of our local hospitals and this is what you use symbols for. So this is the logo here. So it would be really cool is to be able to create symbols. This is what you should do with symbols is use logos and things like that. And branding is perfect for it because that way, if anything changes, you can quickly change it. So I'll show you how to make a symbol out of this right away. So I'm just going to copy and we're just going to go to a blank document. There you go. And since I'm done with this, we're going to save this. So in case this crashes or whatever. I have found that symbols are a whole other thing. Corel has been working a long time. I got no shade developers. It's hard work, but working with a vector engine and creating colors and Bezier curves, that's solved math. But symbols is keeping track of keeping track of assets on the computer on the back end, keeping registry tables or however they do it. But if we create a symbol right here with this is going to have to be kept track of in every document and it could be on a server. So I found that symbols can kind of bork CorelDRAW sometimes. I actually was working with symbols today and I ended up having to do a repair. You go to your applications and go to uninstall. And I suggest you do that quite often actually with Corel is just every now and then hit repair and it'll just repair everything. But yeah, it was my symbols were causing Corel to just crash immediately. So somewhere it got something in its eye. So anyway, let me show you what's up. So there's three major documents that I work with. It's CDR.CDR, right? That's what we work with. That's what right now, this is what this is. And then there's .cdt, which is a template. So you could actually save this as a template. And then every time you open it, you could then save a CorelDRAW file out of it without having to change anything. That's if you, like I say, if you have a template, you're always using something. But symbols are like assets that live outside of the CorelDRAW program that then you can drop into any other CorelDRAW file and anyone can use it. So it's really cool. But first you have to create the .cd, the CSL, which is essentially like a library full of books. The library is a container that holds all the symbols. So all you got to do is just start with a new document and you don't even have to put it in the center because you're going to just create all kinds of symbols if you want. You can create symbols over here. You can create this symbol over here. You can make this as messy as you want. But essentially you're just going to have different symbols on the library, inside the library, and you can have multiple pages. So it can work just like a regular CDR document. It's just that it's going to be a library. So what we're going to do is we're going to start here. I'm going to get rid of that and that. We'll start fresh. And you know what? We don't need that. We just want to have the actual, this is the record of truth. So we'll put that in the center and then we're just going to go save as. We're going to go save as. And then the thing is though, because I know a lot of you guys are all about those macros. So you know about the GSM folders, right? So with the document or with the symbols, it's going to be under your documents. It's going to be under your username documents, and it's not going to be hidden in some, roaming, and you got to go find the actual GMS that's for the version you're using and all that. No, this is very local for everybody. It's put on the earth for me and you. So you're just going to go to your documents folder, and then you're going to go to Corel, and then you're going to go to Corel content, and then down here it's going to be symbols. So it's a whole different kind of mentality than the GMS folder for macros. Macros, you have to keep that GMS folder. You have to bring it forward when you migrate. So symbols, though, sits and it's there for every version to use. So when you go in there and you can see where it's a .cdr, you just save type as, there's your template, but there's your CorelDRAW library. There you go. And so now you can see where all my other libraries are, and each of these is filled with symbols. So these are just the containers. So we're going to name this one, let's just call it Eisen, whatever you want to name it, but that's the Eisen.csl. Now we're going to save. And now there's no different. It's just that this is, you can see up here, it says a CSL now. So this is still just an object. You could save this and you're good, but you're not going to have like a linked symbol like over here. So what we want to do now is convert this to symbols. But what I want to do is I want to create several types or a couple versions. So I want to take this, just the name, and then let's just take the logo and we'll go here. So what we're going to do is create 3 separate symbols. So now all you got to do is, select, and then you're going to go ahead and say create symbol, which is symbol, create new symbol right there. But this is what I now learned, because when I first learned about these guys, I was so excited. I was like, oh, I know how to make a symbol. So I was just right clicking, creating symbols like crazy without doing what I like to do. Is I live and die by everything being named so I can find it later. I don't like just group of 3 objects because you can't find that later. So I'm going to go ahead and ungroup this, and you can actually go through and name, because that's a curve, and that's a curve, and that's a curve. What I'll do is I will go through and just name these real quick just to show you how you can do it. So you can just say that's the blue, and then just call this the white. I'm just naming this the white. And then this will be the red. Now you can actually probably name it red vinyl, but whatever. So there you go. And now I'm going to group this. Of course, that doesn't have a name, so I'm going to go ahead and name that. And I'm just going to call this the main logo. There you go. All right, so now that's named, and that's the way I should have done all my symbols. So I have all my symbols that are not named, and now it's driving me crazy. Plus, while I'm here, I'm going to go to properties, and I'm going to go scale with object. There you go. So now this is how I like it. And so now I have this named. I'm going to go ahead and just cheat. We'll go over here, and we'll get rid of that, and we'll go over here. There you go. And then this will be, we'll name this main letters. We'll name shapes. There you go. And then we can get rid of that. And then we'll group this, and we'll name this group like main all. There we go. And I'm going to name that. Okay. So now I have this, and I have this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just select and right click, and then I'm going to create new symbol. And then you have to kind of rename it again, which you can name it if you want the same, or, so I'm just going to write main letters, because I was naming the actual shape. Now you can see where, boom, it switched from black to blue. That's when you know you have a symbol. And then you also can tell up in the corner, you get this now, edit master or revert to objects. If you hit revert to objects, it's no longer a symbol again, and it just goes back to just how it was. It's almost like undo, but we don't want to do that at this point. And now we're going to go here, right click this, and we're going to hit symbol, create new symbol, and we're going to say, main copy. Let's just do that. And then we'll just call this create symbol, And we'll call this, what's this? Just main logo. There you go. All right, so now we have 3 separate symbols, right? On this, inside this library. So now we're going to save. And now we're good to go. So now in our documents folder, so I have my Docker over here, and I combined all these Dockers into one over here on the right because I kind of, hunter killer is getting out of hand. I made this a little bigger. I made this bigger. So everything's kind of getting out of hand. So I put all my, I had all these Dockers separate, but I went ahead and put them over here in the corner. So symbols, good to go. And then you go to local symbols, and then you go to here, and now Eisen's usually at the last one you added is usually at the bottom. So if you go through, like, there's hand tools, right? I have a metal file, I have a screwdriver. There's my HO lamps. So back in the day, tell us about that, Grandpa. When you used to actually have to build signs around lamps and do layouts. I have all these lamps. I have tombstone sockets, so that way I could dummy it all up. These guys are mock it all up. These are all full size. But I'm going to go to Eisen, and there you go. So I clicked on Eisen, and now you can see in this browser, I've got main copy, main letters, and main logo. So let's grab a document, and now this is just a CDR, but now these are ready to go. So I'm going to go to Eisen, and then all you got to do is drag it in, and boom, there you go. And then you just got to grab the letters, boom. And then you got to grab the main copy, boom. Okay, so now you can resize these without an issue, but you can't do any editing because these are linked to essentially this document in the documents folder, this .csl in the symbols folder, that's live. And so essentially these are linked inside this document to that. Now you can see when you select these inside a CDR, you can hit break link. That will break the link. That way you can do things to this. Or see, the thing is, somebody can go in and make a change to these, and then there's a chance. It's not automatic. You have to bless it. But basically it could change. Like if they change the font, if they change the layout of this, then every one of these that's linked has the potential to be changed in your document later on. But so if you don't want that, you can hit break link, and now this will be on its own. It'll be an orphan, and it won't speak to the record of truth, the golden master. So yeah, we don't say master anymore. Now, if you just want to go ahead and just be done with all of this and go back to life, back to reality, just hit revert to objects, and that gets rid of everything. Now it's back to classic CorelDRAW curves. You can see it says main letters. Now it is an object. So now you're just dealing with, so it's a quick way to import. So even if you don't want to keep it a symbol, you can just import these very fast. So if you're working with this hospital here, you bring this in, and then you can hit revert to objects, and you're good to go. And it doesn't matter about symbols. You don't care about, it was just a super fast way to import this into your work, and then you can work. But what's really cool though, is you can keep these, and let's bring them all in at once here. I guess you can't bring them all in at once. You got to bring them one at a time. Okay. Noted. So let's say we have these in here now, right? And what we're going to do is we'll save these. Actually, let's see if it'll do it real time. I wonder if it'll do it real time. Let's check it out. So now what you can do is go over here, and then if you go back to your Docker, you right click and hit edit library. This is just a shortcut to open that .csl where we were. So watch what happens. So your other document stays open. That's fine. Now here we are, we're in the CSL. So we're kind of like, we're in the records department. This is it. Like, so anything you're going to do here has the potential to change these. So, you know, do what you got to do in here, but this is what's cool about it. So now if you hit revert to objects, it's going to go back to normal. And I don't know exactly what that means, but I think that might affect these guys. I think these will then be orphaned. But what you want to do is just edit. So let's say these guys decide to, so you hit edit master. Now you can't do that here because these aren't the master. So you can see where edit master is grayed out. you can only break the link and make it an orphan, and you can only revert to objects, but you can't edit. You have to open the .csl. You have to open that box. Then you can get in here and root around. So now we're under the hood. I'm going to hit edit master. Watch. So it just makes it about that, right? And then when you're done, you finish. So now we are literally like tinkering under the hood here. So I'm going to go ahead and ungroup. And then they called and said they like this purple. That's actually kind of dope. Anyway, and now I'm done. So I'm going to finish. And now I'm going to save that, right? And then we can go ahead and close this. And now if we click this, ooh, there it is. Look at that, real time. Now it says update. And so now I can choose whether to keep it where it is, and I could really be safe and hit break link. And what I just did won't have anything. But over here, I can hit update. Check it out. Just that easy. So if you keep your symbols live and you keep the links to the main record, which is this guy right here, we just updated that, then you can easily enough just go through and change it all. Pretty cool, yeah? So yeah, that's how symbols work, and that's how you edit them and stuff. So all you're going to do is just take whatever you want to be a symbol. You're just going to drag it into a new document, fresh. And then like over here, like these are my Rosie the Riveter. This is my girl. When I want something to be welded up strong, if I want something to be just, we want to weld something up good, like boom. This lives in my GMS folder, and it is hard coded from that folder to put a JPEG up on the screen. So is my crisscross. If I want to go ahead and put an HVAC crisscross with the metal brake, this is my symbol right here. I use this, and the guys know when they see crisscross, they know to warm it up, and they know to put a crisscross like you see inside, HVAC stuff. When you have a very flat panel, you want to put some strength into it, then you put the crisscross. Now it'd be really easy. See, I have these hard coded to push a button, but what'd be cool is we can just make these into a symbol. So we're over here in an untitled. So might as well just put them in the center of the page there. I'm going to go ahead and name this one. Well, this one's actually kind of named that. This one's KK. Yeah, it's good enough. Crisscross. We'll leave that. That's fine. So we're going to go over here, hit file, hit save as. We're going to go back to symbols, which we still are. It defaults to CDR. We're going to change it to CSL. Now here's where we're good here. And then I'm going to go ahead and call this the JPEG ones. And I'll know what that is. I'll probably, it doesn't matter. You can keep it in your little Docker over there. It's fine. So I'm going to hit and save that. There we go. But now these aren't symbols yet. See, we got black bounding box. So I'm going to go ahead. Now you probably could just create a symbol with both, but every time you use it, it's going to be just those both together. So now I'm going to, let's see, probably can change the size too. So let's make this one really big, and then we'll make this one like that. But what we're going to do is, because they're totally crossed out, we're going to go ahead and flip them 180. There you go. So we're going to go ahead and create new symbol. I'm going to call this one Rosie. And then we're going to create new symbol. And we're going to just call this one KK. There we go. So I got new symbols. Good to go. Hit save. And then we're going to go ahead and get rid of that. We have a fresh document right here. And then we're going to go back over here to my JPEG ones right there. Look at that. Boom. Go over to the Docker. So I'm going to bring Rosie in. She's working good. And then I'm going to bring Crisscross in. Looking good. Cool. And so now I'm going to go ahead and do an update, because this is upside down for some reason. And maybe we'll change the size of this one, because this one's 26 by 32. And every time I want to use it, I don't want it to be that big. Plus this one's wrong, and maybe I'll shrink that one too. So we'll just go over here. We'll right click, edit library. Now we're back to the CSL. Don't get confused. This is the CDR. Now we're back inside. And then we're going to go ahead and hit edit master. That opens it up. And we're just going to go ahead and shrink it down like that. And hit finish. And then this one, edit master. We're going to go ahead and flip it back the way it was. And then we're going to make this one nice and small too. And then we're going to finish. There we go. Then we're going to save. And now these are linked and it says update. So there you go. Now that's updated and hit update. There you go. And that's symbols. But let's say we're done with that. Now we can just hit revert to objects and we're done. And now these are imported into this and I just use it and I don't have to worry about symbols. I don't have to worry about it changing because this is now unlinked from these. So we're good to go. So that's it. That's symbols. Pretty simple, super powerful. But I have experienced that under the hood, I think this is way more difficult for Corel to handle. I mean, they do a good job. It's great. I don't really have any issues, but I did have an issue where it caused a real nightmare. So use the ones that you have, you know, get a good collection going. But if you ever have an issue with it, but yeah, let's look at these lamps. I haven't opened this lamp one in a long time. Yeah, look at that. Ooh, memories. So that's a 108. Let's get some sockets going. Look at that. That's the compressed side. That's the spring side. Most people just use the, let's see. Oh, tombstones. Oh, look at that. See? Oh, I didn't like it, did it? See, it just crashed Corel. So there, you know, symbols are powerful, but I haven't opened those lamp ones in a long time. And so I bet the lamp ones probably have problems. They're probably like truncated somewhere. I'm sure Corel has probably lost the registry table for those because I haven't looked at those in I don't know how long. So yeah, wow. Okay. Anyway, symbols are real powerful, but there's that. Any of my modern symbols that I use every single day, like over here, you guys know my eyeballs, my lookies. My lookies here. These are symbols. I drop these in. You see those all over the place. YouTube likes to make thumbnails out of these a lot. So these are symbols. So I drop these in all the time. They cause no issues. So symbols that are fresh, I think what happens is symbols that you haven't used in a long time, I think Windows and Corel maybe lose track. So yeah, that was interesting. Real time crash. Anyway, that's symbols. So get after it. And if you have any questions, hit me up.